You are listening to the Pencil and Paper Podcast Network.
I'm Katrina, and I love anime.
I'm Steven, and I'm aware of anime.
But what if that affection could rub off?
Perhaps that excitement in her eyes got me curious.
I could offer up some solid anime.
I could give them a watch, just to see what all the fuss is about.
And maybe, just maybe,
I could learn to love anime too.
welcome to Inspired by a Weeaboo. Welcome back to Inspired by a Weeaboo. I am your host, Katrina, and with me is my husband, Steven.
Hello.
We just finished episode 28 of Fullmetal Alchemist. Steven, what did you think?
Well, it's been a minute, I feel like, since we've watched an episode.
It has been.
But you don't know that, listeners. So don't you worry. You're still on track because, the weeks go by equally for you. Anyway, this episode, I don't want to call it filler. I know we've had this discussion before. Mm-hmm. Kind of fillerish because it felt like they kind of pumping the brakes on everything that had been going on. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, it kind of was repositioning where they were. I mean, not really, but more sake clarity for the teacher.
Yeah.
And really understanding their goals. Plus, it also gave them a moment to reflect on where they had come from to where they are now. Mm-hmm. And kind of relearn some things that maybe they had forgotten along the way. So I thought that was kind of neat. So from last we left our brothers, Elric. They were, the last episode was where the teacher had kind of confessed what she had done, or we find out about her child and her misdeeds.
To a point-ish. Yeah.
Well, we know that she's no better than they are, but in terms of using alchemy for selfish gain, just in saying that. But anyway, she has learned her lesson. And that's what she was trying to push on to them when they were kids. And so now knowing or having an understanding that they are still pursuing this dream of alchemy and flesh. Sounds like something out of Hellraiser. She wants, it almost seems like a punishment, but as we find out, it's to better understand alchemy.
Yes.
Is this lesson. So she sticks them on this island that we learn that she had stuck them on ages ago when they, well, not ages. They're still children.
It's been a hot minute.
Yeah, when they were, before they did their stupidness with their mom thing, when they were learning alchemy from her. This is one of her lessons, is to stick them on this island for a month. And you cannot use alchemy to survive. You gotta use your wits. And it's not a bad lesson to learn. As I've stated before, you use alchemy, or at least I feel like people could use alchemy for any and everything. And just kind of, as we take advantage of all the technology we have today, you just be like, yeah, I'm going to do it that way. I'm just going to use alchemy. So this kind of teaches them a trade to say, don't use it for everything. Much like I said before, where she was trying to show that little boy, that stupid little kid, to fix the wheel on his wagon.
his train.
Or his train, or whatever the hell it was. She was like, you don't need alchemy, man. You can just do it with your hands.
Yeah, I know.
Just come on, man. You don't need to use it for everything. So this is kind of that lesson in a larger sense. Yes. At least it's kind of the way I look at it. Mm-hmm. So throughout the episode, they kind of flash back in between the kids and present day. But I mean, it works a nice juxtaposition to where they were. And then it usually reflects back to something that happened to them when they were kids. So she kind of tells them what's going to happen, what the goal is. And they have to, the big trick to this whole lesson is they have to learn about all is one and one is all, or whatever she said in her speech.
Yes.
Like, they have to understand what that means because they have no clue what she's talking about. They were just like, I don't know what that means.
No.
So they just kind of ponder on it. Of course, this is night one. They're not going to figure it out. And then they are attacked by some big-ass dude in a mask, and he beats the living hell out of them. And so they just say, screw it, and they retreat, which is probably a very smart move. And then they're just trying to figure out, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? And they're starving, and they just want to eat something, and there's nothing they could do. But the next day, oh boy, they decide to set a trap to catch a rabbit.
Mm-hmm.
But then you see, the problem is that just because you caught it, doesn't mean that there's not more work to be done. And then they realize they don't quite have the stomach for that, killing and skinning now. And if I knew I was going to die, sure, there's, I'm going to do that.
Well, and I mean, they finally get to that point. I think that's one of those things that, so many people would be like, I would never eat that. Oh my God, I wouldn't eat that. Just grossed out by things that they don't understand. But if you were put in that position where you had no other option, you could not find or get any other food, you would eat it.
Yeah. I mean, people have eaten people. I don't know the circumstances. I wasn't there, but I'm just saying it happened several times in this country alone, and probably in other countries too. I'm not going to name names, just saying. Anyway, yeah, they, in the moment, they were just like, we can't kill this rabbit, so we're just going to fish instead. And you know what? That's the second time we've heard this argument today. What is up with red meat and fish not being the same?
I mean, I guess it's not.
I mean, no, technically it's not, but you can't say one is meat and one is not meat, but yet killing and eating a fish is so much easier than an animal like a rabbit because it's a brainless little thing in the water.
I feel like it's kind of like the same type of argument of an egg isn't considered a meat, but yet it's literally a chicken embryo.
I don't know. I don't want to go down this road because just thinking about it. Anyway, as they're pondering what they're going to do, actually, I forgot that part. Before they even decide to go fishing, they got their rabbit snatched by a fox. And had they seen this fox? Yeah, no? Had they seen the fox on the
When
island?
they first go or get onto the island when they're older in present day,
right?
They see two foxes and they just kind of laugh, and then that's where it kind of goes off into the, remembrance and everything. So I guess they just associated it with the two baby foxes that they saw.
Right, because the fox that took the rabbit was a mama, and she was trying to feed her young, which also led to Ed getting attacked and bitten by this bitch of a fox. But again, she was trying to feed her children, so it's understandable. She just needed...
It's the circle of life.
The circle of life. That's what we learn. Back in the present day, we realize that the brothers are being stalked. We don't know by whom at the moment, but they're being stalked.
You don't know by whom.
I don't know. I haven't watched it all yet. Then the stalker continues to stalk, and every little time we come back to present day, it's just like, stalker. And then finally the stalker does something other than just stalking in the background and steals their fish. And I really don't understand how Ed or Al thought that Ed had taken those fish.
I guess just because, he thought, again, that they were the only two on the island.
Yeah, fair, but still, I mean, come on. None of that worked out. I don't know.
He's still a kid.
Sure.
He just saw destroyed fire and a handprint and was like, my brother.
So with seeing that they had been vandalized and their fish stolen, the first thing that comes into their mind, well, it's got to be that big dude. Now, I guess enough time would have passed that it could still, like it wasn't. I don't know why I keep thinking they're ancient when they're old or something like that. It's only been a few years.
Yeah.
So they just assume it's the big dude, and they're just like, hey, you know what? The hell with this. We're going to go deal with this right now. We did it before. We're going to do it again. And then you're like, so how did they handle this big dude? Well, we flash back again, and they're trying to beat the big dude, and they're committed to survive.
Yes.
They're going to do what they have to do to survive. So they gain their confidence. They're like, we're going to do this no matter what. We're going to do this. And we see them kind of persevere through different things, eat some funky mushrooms, and I guess have a good high because they look like they were laughing pretty good.
I think it was more doubled over in pain.
But by the time, like, they start losing track of time, how long they'd been there, and Ed kind of breaks because he's just, no, it's Al that breaks.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Al.
And he's trying to just grapple with it all. Like, everything's falling apart. The pressure's getting too much, even though they had the confidence. He's just, it hit him. Mm-hmm. And he's starting to wonder. But we go back to the present again. And as they're kind of searching around for the big dude, then Al spots who he thinks is Ed, but then we find out, it's the stalker. That's what happened. And then we go back to the flashback because we bounce back and forth. And the boys are being confronted by the big dude again. Mm-hmm. And this time he's like walloping the shit out of them pretty hard. Al is kind of in, he knocks Ed down. And then he starts in on Al, or Ed. God damn, Al. That's right. I said it right.
Ed down, and then he starts in on Al.
Right. Whew. Okay. And as Ed is laying there on the ground, just defeated, he starts to have a realization of everything. The life, because he's watching this moth get torn apart by... Cicada. Getting torn apart by ants, and it's like he realizes that's it, the circle of life. That's what they're here for. That's what all this is about, the circle of life. So he gets up and he snaps with a knife, and he's like, just get off my brother before I cut you. And dude just says, all right, and he walks away. Now I had a good hunch that was the husband.
Well, it wasn't the husband.
Well, that's who I thought it was.
Gotcha. No, he would have been much thicker. Her husband thicker than a Snicker.
That was the part, because I was like, something about this feels staged, but I wasn't 100% sure. And then I thought, well, maybe there was the husband because we didn't see him. But yeah, you're right. He would have been bigger. So, but we found out it was the ferryman, I guess.
Well, yeah, it's one of the guys who work for her or work with her or whatever. One of their friends.
Right. So we find that out later that it was all a ruse. But then that just raises a bigger question because he wasn't in the island in present day. But we'll get to that. Anyway, they have their circle of life moment. They learn their lesson, and then the teacher comes back and she's like, what's the lesson? And they spout some rhetoric that's similar to the all is one, one is all. Yes.
Al says, the universe is all, and Edward says, and I am the one.
Right. And she giggles her ass off, and she's like, all right, I'll teach you alchemy. Come on. And it was just like, all right, well. And then we kind of come back to a similar situation in the present day where we're seeing them face to face with their sensei. And she's like, well, what have you learned? And then they reiterate what they've kind of realized, but then kind of explain to her what their goals are. It's not about, they learn their lesson, but damn, they want to try and at least achieve this one thing, because generally speaking, and I really didn't think too much about it, or I guess I haven't really thought much about it, but I feel like getting Al a new body feels more realistic than bringing someone back from the dead.
Yeah, and it wouldn't specifically, like, they don't want a new body. They want his body.
Mm.
So...
And I think that's why I feel like it's not far-fetched, because, as we've mentioned before, the body is just a meat puppet, you know.
Yeah.
So you can do that, but a soul, as I guess we're kind of thinking of it in these terms, is something you just cannot will out of in creation. It's just that's like a missing element to the whole thing, why it doesn't work. So they have the soul, they just need the body, and that's why I feel like it's a tangible goal, like something they could possibly really pull off, because it's there, it's right there in their hands. So she seems content with this answer. Like, all right, I can dig it. It's cool. I think I'm with you here. And then, of course, this is when we get the realization of when they mentioned the dude on the island, and he's like, "Oh no, that was me," which then led them to say, "Oh, if you weren't here, then there is somebody on the island." And then we are introduced to the stalker, who looked, I thought, like a girl, but I think it was a boy.
Yes.
Yeah, because these animes confuse me sometimes. So the boy's just sitting there with a weird looking little grin. Just, he's happy.
Yeah.
He looks devilish. And then that's where they leave us. Very dramatic. I mean, I was expecting it to be continued because the music got very dramatic.
Yeah, it definitely got very dramatic, but I feel like that's because of what is coming. Like I said, from here is just going to keep building up.
Building up.
Yeah. More and more shit is going to start to get answered, and then you're going to have more and more questions because it creates more and more questions. But you're instead of chipping little pieces away, you're starting to get decent sized chunks.
So I guess another good way to look at the way some of these episode arcs ebb and flow would be very much like a season.
Yeah.
Like if we were, because of everything that just went down from the last few episodes where it got intense again, and then all that, about the time that the teacher came in, or even this episode particularly, could be like the beginning of a new season. That's why it kind of starts off light, because it's like reestablishing where we're going, and then we're going to go all the way back up because some shit's about to go down, and then we might hit another peak and valley and just kind of go back down. We're just like, all right, we got to mellow out. Got to get ready for the next big thing. So maybe that's the way I should look at some of these, instead of saying, well, this feels like filler. It's the beginning of a new season, in essence.
Some of them. Yeah, sure.
Even though they don't have seasons, it's all just one big collection of episodes. And you know, IMDb, I said that right. Yes. IMDb, it didn't sound right in my head, or when I said it aloud, my ears said, no, you said two letters together. No, they tried to fight me, or were arguing with me about episodes and numbers, because I know it doesn't make sense, it's stupid, but if you go on IMDb, yep. It's not sounding right when I'm saying it. I don't know why not. But
oh Lord.
if you number a certain episode beyond a certain season, say like if you say season 4 episode 100, the thing went whoa. We're not aware of any season 4s going 100 episodes. 99, sure. Not 100. Are you sure this is how you want to do that? And I'm like, yeah. And they're just like, well, all right. We warned you. And I was like, okay. And then they continued to do it after they warned me the first time. It was every episode after. And I'm like, what are you doing? We had this conversation. Stop.
You tell them.
I know that had nothing to do with this, but I just wanted to kind of, because 52 episodes and it's probably one continuous season on IMDb because they know what to do. Anyway, I'm sorry. I'm going off on a rant. I really have nothing more to say about this episode, I guess. So,
no, I feel like we got to get into the next one so you can find out who the kid is.
I guess. I mean, this show does have a track record of just getting right to it. So hopefully we'll find out this is probably some homunculi or something. I'm taking a guess because everything else is. Well, as usual, go listen on your favorite podcasting platform, like Good Pods. Hey, they want to support the show and tell everybody about us. So we put a badge on our page, and then I guess they're going to tell people about us. So, hey, why don't you tell Good Pods and go over there and be like, make our show number one on their platform or wherever you listen to your podcast. But that one preferably because we get into a ranking, and it's pretty awesome. You can do reviews on Apple and Spotify. They seem to be the two that matter, and do 5 stars. And then if you don't really want to write anything big, just write cool or great, anime. You can just write a letter in the box and that'll count too. But just the 5 stars is all we really want because that also helps us move up in rankings and stuff. That's what they tell me. And if you want to support the show from a financial standpoint, go to patreon.com/pencilpaperproductions and you can throw in just $1 singular dollar and you can listen to episodes a week early when I remember to post them because I don't know who is. No one else has chipped in a buck yet. But you will. I know you will because you're a great person. And you can also listen to the show on YouTube, youtube.com/pencilpaperproductions. They come out every week, and you get to see the graphics and everything and the pictures and stuff like that. That's pretty neat. And sometimes I flash them up. It just depends on the mood I'm in or the time I've got. And finally, you can go to pencilpaperproductions.com/inspiredweeaboo to keep up with any and all things on the show.
All right, my little weebs. We will see you next time.
This has been a Pencil and Paper Podcast Network production.